All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd first like to say welcome to the Every.Black Mastermind meeting. My name is Camille Richardson, and we're first going to start off with just a little bit of housekeeping rules. I first want to let you know that the meeting is being recorded, and we are also broadcasting live on Facebook. We're streaming live on Facebook. So you can go to the Every.Black Facebook page at facebook.com/Every.Black, and you can share it on your social media page as well. Please stay on mute unless you have a question or comment. And if you do have a question or comment, you can raise your hand and you will be called upon. When you are called upon, please state your name and location before you speak so that we'll know who you are and where you are. Now I'm going to go over the agenda for the evening. We first start off with the Every.Black introductory video. Then after that, I'll share the mission of Every.Black and the benefits of attending a mastermind meeting. Then Ms. Deborah Wright will lead us through the reading of the S.B. Fuller book. Then after that, our founder, Mr. Jimmy Davies, will give us announcements and offer us some tech tips. Then Wheatley Exum will share an encouraging Bible verse. And Ms. Jacqueline Bowens will introduce our speaker, but tonight actually will be Mr. Jimmy Davies. He'll be introducing the speaker. And behind the scenes is Ms. Kim Smith, who is the engineer. We will also, after the speaker, we will have our short video after our speaker comes on. And then we will have our breakout sessions for networking. And that way we'll be able to meet somebody else who's on the call. And then we'll have the closeout meeting or the closeout remarks, and then we'll have the prayer. And after that, from 9:30 to 10 is the Every.Black after party, which is amazing if I do say so myself. So now we're going to go ahead and get started with the video. So Mr. Jimmy Davies, you can take it away.
I grew up in Flint, Michigan during the 60s, and I remember as a child the civil rights movement. And I remember as family would huddle around this black and white TV and watch all of the things that were going on in Alabama and Mississippi. Some of my cousins, older cousins, were active in the movement, and every Sunday we would have a large Sunday dinner with the extended family. And they would come back on Sundays and they would tell us about all the things they'd seen and done. And as a child, about 8 or 9 years old, I always wanted to grow up and be a part of that. But by the time I became of age, it was all over. All of the marching was done. I always felt left out, that I didn't get a chance to participate in the civil rights movement. But little did I know that God had another plan for me as a computer instructor and database developer. We as a people had to overcome slavery and secondly, obtain our civil rights, being able to eat in any restaurant or stay in any hotel that we wanted. But the third piece is economic equality. I'm convinced that to achieve economic equality, it has to be through entrepreneurship. And we must use technology and a strategy of global networking. And that's why I created Every.Black, to use my 30 years of experience as a computer instructor and database developer, to use technology to promote our members. We do it in a wide variety of ways. Of course, we list them on the website. We list our members in a directory that is downloadable from the website and our podcast, and distribute it at trade shows and other events. We constantly promote our members on social media and weekly email blast. Our social media followers and recipients of our email blast numbers in the tens of thousands. With over 30 podcast shows that air weekly, we reach people around the world, educating them about every aspect of becoming an entrepreneur. Where you can be interviewed on one of our podcasts or join Every.Black and have your own podcast. We have a complete package of services catered specifically for the entrepreneur. And last, we conduct weekly mastermind meetings where we read positive books and learn about entrepreneurship while networking with like-minded individuals. Just go to www.every.black to register for our weekly mastermind meetings. And that's what Every.Black is all about. Whether it's through mastermind meetings, providing the members with more exposure through social media and email blast, interviewing the members on podcast, and even providing them with their own podcast. We also make it very affordable for anyone to join. from a basic listing to a bronze, silver, or gold membership. So visit us at Every.Black. Sign up today. Just go to Every.Black, EVERY.BLACK. No .com, no .net. Just Every.Black. .black is the new .com.
And as you can see, I just realized my video was turned off, so hopefully you guys can see me now. So now I'm going to go over the mission and benefits of, there you go. So now I'm going to go over the mission and benefits of Every.Black, of attending Every.Black Mastermind meeting. So the mission of Every.Black is to assist, educate, and inspire people to create wealth through entrepreneurship by leveraging technology and a strategy for global networking. And how do we do that, you ask? We do that through the Every.Black directory. If you are a member, you are listed in the Every.Black directory. We also market members through social media and email blast. We also educate people about entrepreneurship through the Every.Black podcast network. Whoa. And also at the Every.Black Mastermind meetings, which are held every Monday night right here on Zoom beginning at 8 o'clock. So now I'm going to go over the benefits of attending a mastermind meeting. The first one is to discover solutions to ideas through brainstorming, tap into the experiences and skills of others, increase your confidence in decisions you make, be accountable for real progress in your business, obtain an instant and valuable network, develop a sense of family, you are not alone, innovate from new ideas, and last but not least, boost your everyday confident, positive mental attitude. And now I'm going to turn the floor over to Ms. Deborah Wright, who will so graciously guide us through the reading of the S.B. Fuller book, followed by a short discussion. So Ms. Deborah, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Camille. Good evening, everybody. I'm Deborah Wright, and I'm in Wake Forest, North Carolina. I will be reading from the S.B. Fuller book, as Camille said, who was a pioneer in Black economic development. I will actually be starting at the bottom of, for those of you who have the book, I will be starting at the bottom of page 111, and I will be rereading the last paragraph in that page so that we can move on and become grounded in what the next page says. At the bottom of page 111, S.B. Fuller is actually speaking or making a speech at a very large luncheon which had 900 guests, and this was in New York. And at this luncheon, there were business, religious, political, and civic life people. This was November 16th, 1963. And one portion of his speech, he says, because he does not own and control retail establishments in his own community, the Negro is unable to stabilize his community. For every evening, at the close of business, the substantial citizen leaves that community and goes to another community to live, thus leaving the Negro community impoverished, and the wealth derived from the Negro community through retail sales is transferred to other communities, thus building up that community. These merchants are not to be blamed for this, because the supply and demand must be satisfied. Since the Negro does not supply the demand in his own community, the white man comes in and he takes advantage of the opportunity. Then the Negro thinks that there is a racial barrier that keeps him from making progress. Therefore, he asks for legislation to remove the barrier, which he automatically created himself due to the lack of action in his own behalf. He believes that the purpose of business is to furnish jobs, but this is not true. The purpose of business is to render service and to make a profit. And by doing this, it must employ people. These people must be able to render a service and produce a commodity that the businessman can sell at a profit. If not, the business can no longer employ the individual. People fear automation because they do not understand it. Man always fears that which he doesn't understand. When the automobile was a threat to the horse and buggy day, they thought the automobile was going to replace the horse and wagon. But the automobile produced more jobs than the horse and buggy ever dreamed to produce. The blacksmith, who was a maintenance man for the wagon, had to be retrained to be a mechanic. This produced problems, but education solved the problem. Education can and will solve the problem that automation has created. Because automation is here to stay, it will prove a blessing in disguise. Of all the people that automation has thrown out of jobs, no racial group has been hit more severely than the Negro people, because most of all, the people identified with the Negro race are working people, people who look to other racial groups for jobs, and they are least prepared to cope with the situation. Industry will have to make a special effort to train these people to meet the demand of skilled help that automation has created. Not only must they be trained to do the skilled jobs that are going to be available in the future, but they must be told in no uncertain terms the truth about capitalism, that the people must work the system and not the system work the people. The Negro must pool his capital in order to help himself. He must establish retail sales organizations throughout his community. And also, he must go into light manufacturing where retail selling has already produced an outlet for the products light manufacturing can produce. This will enable him to help solve his own problems. Banks and other financial institutions must develop a more sympathetic attitude toward the application for loans when presented by Negro people engaged in business. Today, it is easier for the Negro church to get a loan from a financial institution than a Negro business. Since our capitalistic system is a competitive system, the Negro must learn to compete with his fellow man. He must not only seek jobs, but he must own establishments which will give jobs to others. As long as we have progress, we will have jobs. Specialized knowledge is the only solution to the problem which progress produces. His speech was entered into the congressional record and released to the national press. Most publications did not print the entire address, but quoted portions of it. Statements were taken out and SB was branded an anti-Negro. On December 21st, 1963, the New York Courier reprinted statements taken from a syndicated column written by Jackie Robinson and printed in the Amsterdam News, a Black publication in New York City. I'm going to stop there, and Jimmy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you for the reading, Deborah. And the reason we do the reading is it's just so important. We want to learn something each Monday evening, learn about entrepreneurship, and then we have, of course, great guest speakers, and then we network. But one of the interesting things I thought, and also we want to hear about any comments or questions that you may have as well. But one of the interesting things I thought that she was reading is that he said that specialized education was the solution for progress. And I don't know if it could be any more truer today than it was then. I mean, especially we were just talking earlier about having to adapt, and those that are able to are going to be okay. But what do you all think? Any thoughts or comments?
I was thinking, this is Jackie Bowens from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I was thinking the same thing about that fits into what's going on now as far as specialized education and
Right.
making things work according to how things turn out. But also the part where just parts of his speech were taken out of context, a deliberate effort to sabotage Mr. Fuller, to me, deliberately so, knowing that it's going to be a backlash from, especially from Black folks. And it'll be interesting to see how this turns out when we finish reading. And that's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts or comments anyone like to share? The one thing I thought was interesting was that Jackie Robinson was the one that wrote the article, you know, the baseball player. So I just thought that was interesting, and we'll find out more about how that all evolves in the coming Mondays. But any other last thoughts or comments? Otherwise, we're going to.
Yeah, Jimmy, we
Yes.
have a raised hand.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is Lafayette Jones. How are you, Mr. Davies?
Good. Good.
Good. Would you explain a little more what you mean or what you think Mr. Fuller meant by special education, especially, and what you said, especially today? What are you talking about?
Well, I think the way I took it was that when it says specialized education, today technology is a place where we just constantly need more education because it's becoming more and more of a virtual world, which is one of the reasons why we focus Every.Black on around technology. We have the technology training on Fridays for the members, and we always have tech tips in the meetings today. But I just thought it was interesting that he said that education was the solution for progress. Whenever there's progress, then people have to gain other skills, basically, to adapt. That's the way I read it or took it.
Thank you. Also, the comment about Jackie Robinson's comments. We must remember that all Black people don't have to have the same opinion about everything. And Jackie Robinson, if you follow his career, was a great spokesperson, not only a great baseball player, but did a great deal of wonderful things in our community. So I don't think there was anything wrong with him having a different opinion.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything to share?
I have one little thing I was wondering about when Mr. Fuller was talking about people are afraid of automation. Mm-hmm. I think he may have also meant that people are looking at that as, okay, my job's gone now. What am I going to do? I don't know how to do this new stuff. To me, that's what it looks like. And that goes along with today. A lot of people lose their jobs because of technology. And if they aren't trained, they're out of work. And the jobs that are left, most of the time, there's not a whole lot of them because the technology cuts out a lot of the workforce. So I think that could be part of what he's talking about when he says that people are afraid of automation.
Hey, I'd like to
go ahead.
Like piggyback on what Jacqueline was just saying. There's this movie, so I forget the name of the movie, but Dan DeVito was in it, and Gregory Peck. It was, these people were talking about this factory that was going to close, and Dan DeVito was the bad guy because he was going to close their factory. And they gave this, Gregory Peck gave this great speech about how they're going to maintain their way of life and so on and so forth. And Dan DeVito told them the story about these people that used to make, they tan the leather to make horse whips, back at the turn of the 20th century. They made these horse whips up until they saw the first Model T Ford come rolling up the street. And he said, okay, when you see that, you got to make a choice right now. You can keep making those horse whips, but you're going to get left behind because this is the future. This is what's going to be the new thing. And you can either get left behind or you can start tanning leather to make seat covers for these new cars that are coming. Take that new technology, kind of like what you did here, instead of us meeting, in the one building in Raleigh, we took what we had and we pivoted and used what's there to go into the next arena. And sometimes that's what you have to do.
Okay, thank you.
Could I jump in? And this is an excellent opportunity to share a little Black history. The first gentleman Black gentleman to build a car in the United States, young Black man. His father had started a buggy company. And the young man saw that the horse and buggy was the past, and he saw that automobiles were the future. And so this young Black man, at the same time as Henry Ford, created the first and only automobile manufacturing company by a Black man in the world.
Well, that's Miss Addie Banks. She's our historian, and you can see why. She has had a podcast on the history of Black entrepreneurs for several years now, and also has her information on Udemy and on websites and everything else. So thank you. We're going to move on. Did anyone else have
one more comment? This is Pat Jones. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and the account that's read tonight and the comments that have been made make one thing fully clear to us, that we have to keep educating ourselves. We have to pay attention to the trends, and we have to constantly remain relevant in our skills and things that we offer, and even in guiding and directing our children in the same way.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you all. So we're going to move on.
I'd like to make a comment. This is Dr. Lawley, and I'm calling in from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay, well, this is going to be our last comment, but we need to move on. We have more, but go ahead, Dr. Malali.
Okay, I just came in the middle of the conversation about Jackie Robinson.
Go
and I'd like to just say the short of it is, I think this is wonderful. I thank you again for this platform to share about the state of Black America and what we need to be doing in terms of engaging technology to move forward. I'm a direct recipient of an investment that Jackie Robinson made. He invested in a poor white man years ago who became my 8th grade math teacher at a time when my father died and I had lost my ability to learn. This white man nurtured my ability to learn and put in me a passion for math. And today I have invented, I'm a design engineer for solar technology. And I'm double gold medal in engineering for developing a device that goes on the windows that harnesses solar power and puts it decreases environmental toxins in the house, and it makes the electricity more sustainable. So we have houses in North Carolina that are saving an average about 50% on their electric bill. And the reason why this is so critical is that 5G is here. And what nobody is talking about is the fact that 5G is so fast and serious, but it can turn your windows into taser guns.
Whoa. Dr. Malala, I hate to interrupt you, but I appreciate your comments, but we're going to have to move on with that. We've got a guest speaker in another program, but I appreciate your comments and being a part of our program.
Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Sure thing.
And please check with with Kim Smith to become a speaker, a guest speaker, and explain everything you just said. We'd love to hear you give a presentation.
All right.
I'll put my information in the chat box for you.
Okay.
Email address.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, we're going to move on with the program, but we do appreciate all the comments. We are on a schedule here, but because we want to keep to our agenda. But one of the things we always try to do is inform you what Every.Black is about. So our mission is to assist people to create wealth through entrepreneurship, using technology and a focus on technology and strategy of global networking. And so it's a membership site, and please visit us at Every.Black, www.every.black, where you can see a list of our members. And what we started recently is every Friday, we have a new members orientation. So once members join, then we make sure that they fully understand their benefits and help them with their profile pages and things like that to make sure that they're getting the value that we're offering. What we try to do also each week, we want to highlight one of our current members. And so this week we're highlighting Donald Brumfield Jr., and he's with Portfolio Group. And also he's been a DJ for 30 plus years. But he's been one of our very loyal and supporting members over the years. So we just want to highlight and recognize him. And I think we also did that in the email blast that went out today. He's also, I should say, a wine distributor. They recently were able to obtain a contract with Walmarts throughout North Carolina to distribute wine. And then we also use the information that's on our website to create a membership directory that is downloadable from the website. And also, I think Kim's going to be putting that in the chat area this evening, so you can actually have a copy of the directory for yourself, where we list our members and how to reach them, the different services and products that they offer. One of the things we also do for the membership is anything that we hear about, we try to include it in our weekly email blast that goes out. And to over 300 folks in the email blast right now. And just to get the word out about whatever the members are doing, as well as social media, same concept. So we're pooling our, being able to inform the general public and all of our followers and all of our friends about what the members are doing, the products and services and the events that they're holding. And we do that on a daily basis. And we mentioned technology earlier. So what we've started doing every Friday for the members, we have a technology training session every Friday afternoon. And for this month, the month of June, we've been focusing on podcasting, teaching the members how to podcast and answering any questions that they may have. Now, the previous month, I think we focused on live streaming. So each week, we just literally tune in and start working on learning another facet of technology. And then also want to mention that we have our podcast network, where our members actually create shows that are hosted on the Every.Black Entrepreneur Podcast Network. And the shows are related again to entrepreneurship, but the shows are also in whatever the members' fields of expertise is. That's what the shows are about, and that's on 7 days a week. So we invite you to tune in and listen to some of our content on entrepreneurship.black on the Every.Black Entrepreneur Podcast Network. And this is one of the shows that one of our members, we encourage you to tune in every Tuesday through Saturday morning for the Motivation Readers Mastermind Network. And by the way, if any of these things that you want to get more information about, you can put something in the chat, and Kim or myself will follow up with you to make sure you get the information you're looking for. And then this is another member where they've started a show about married people that are in business together. And that's every Thursday at 7 p.m. So to stay tuned. I think they've got going to have a real successful show. Very great concept. And then of course, we do the Entrepreneur Mastermind meetings. We've been meeting in person over the last few years, about the last 2.5 years. But as of the last 4 months or so, we've been going strictly virtual. And so we've been bringing in people from literally around the world into the mastermind meetings. So we want to thank you for tuning in. Then I want to mention also, like we just go through these announcements midway, but I also want to mention that we have a special relationship with Lafayette and Sandra Miller-Jones. And if you notice, one of our members, Ryan Ray, who's also our guest speaker tonight, was in one of the publications and highlighted, and was called the Urban Call Briefs. And it's a column authored by Lafayette Jones each month. And if you're interested, can't guarantee that you'll be in there, but if you're interested, we would need a headshot, a nice bio, 400 words or less, and some connection to the beauty industry. This magazine goes out to 15,000 people and is also online, and it's been around for quite a while. And so anyway, so we're highlighting some of our members in there. And so what we want to do too is I've been talking about Lafayette and Sandra Miller-Jones for quite a while. So we want to put faces with the people that we've been mentioning. So, and I know Mr. Jones is on the call tonight. He made a comment earlier. So we just want to thank them for their support. One of the things too that we do each week, with my background being in technology, we have a weekly tech tip. And so this week, I thought I would just share with you some tips about selecting text that you may or may not be aware of. So, because anytime you do anything in a word processor, the first thing you have to do is you have to highlight the text. And there are some shortcuts, like I say, that you may or may not be aware of. So now I've got a Microsoft Word document open here. And normally, whenever you make any changes to text, the first thing you have to do is highlight something to make it bold or italic or delete it or whatever you want to do. So if I wanted to make a change here, I have to press and drag across the text. That's one way, simply by clicking the mouse down, pressing and dragging across my text to highlight it. Click where I want to start, press and drag across to highlight it. Another way to select text is if I click where I want the selection to begin. This is for large blocks of text. I can scroll down to where I want it to end, hold down the Shift key on the keyboard and click a second time. Everything between that first click and second click now becomes selected. Okay, again, I click where I want it to start, scroll down to where I want it to end, hold down the Shift key and click again, and everything between that first click and the second click becomes selected. Otherwise, you'll be clicking and scrolling and you go too far and you scroll and you don't go far enough, you gotta start over again. But the easy way is to click where you want it to start, hold down the Shift key and click where you want it to end. And clicking in the open or white area takes the selection off. Now, if I want to select a word, I can double click on a word and that automatically selects the word. Simply by double clicking on the word, selects the word. If I click 3 times on a word, it highlights an entire paragraph. So twice on a word to select the word, 3 times on a word to select the paragraph. Now, if I want to select an entire sentence, I can hold down the Command key on my keyboard. Now I'm on a Macintosh. Click 1 time and it selects a sentence. Again, that's hold down the Command key, click 1 time, and it selects a sentence. It may use the Alt key or the Control key on a PC, but you should be able to do the same thing with the different keys on your keyboard. Now, if I click over to the left, if I move my cursor over to the left, my cursor becomes a pointer. If I click 1 time with my pointer, it selects a line of text, not necessarily a sentence, but a line. If I double click, it selects an entire paragraph. And if I click 3 times, it selects the entire document from top to bottom by clicking 3 times. So you can also select text from your menu. Under Edit, there's a Select All command, and also you can use your keyboard. In this case on the Mac, the Command key and the letter A. So if I select All, that's going to select the entire document. Or from my keyboard, I can hold down the Apple key or Command key and hit the letter A, and that's going to select my entire document as well. Again, these things should work on a PC as well, but here I have a column. For a bonus tip, I want to show you how to highlight columns in Microsoft Word. Again, I'm going to move my cursor over to the left, and I'm just going to click on that top row. Maybe I want to make those labels bold. But what if I want to highlight just the phone numbers? Well, if I hold down the Option key on my keyboard, I can actually highlight just the phone numbers and make those italic or bold or whatever. If I don't hold down the Option key, watch what happens. I'm going to highlight all the way across. But by holding down the Option key, I can highlight a column or a block of text. And then I can make it do anything with it that I would like. Here I'm going to make the names bold. Highlight the Option key, or hold down the Option key, highlight the text, and make it bold. Again, it may be a little different on a PC versus a Mac, but I think you get the idea. By holding down the Option key or the Alt key on a PC, you can highlight columns of text in your Microsoft Word document. And that's your tech tip for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Okay, well, like I said, we would try to have a tech tip each week, but I was going to ask any questions about that. I just wanted to share something each week with you. Okay, well, we're going to move on, and normally Wheatley Davis, or Exum, excuse me, Wheatley Exum shares our verse with us, but this evening Kim stepped in for it. So Kim, if you would, please.
Greetings, Every.Black family and guests on this call today. I'll be reading our scripture out of Romans chapter 8, verse 28. All things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. I chose this scripture today because entrepreneurship is an interesting place and it is often synonymous with failure and setback. But when you know that there is a purpose for your work and you're clear that you are on an assignment, you'll remember that all things, even the bad things, are working for your good. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, now we're going to bring on the speaker, but I got a short video to show you.
When I was 25 years old, I was in a near fatal car accident that moved me back home to Dunn, North Carolina. And so when moving back home to Dunn, a friend of the family referred me to a guy who was having some success. And he said, Ryan, success is not something that you pursue. Success is something that you attract by the person you become. And so by that, I began to adopt this hunger and this just desire to become a better version of myself. And so I went from a 25-year-old kid who had never read a book to this kid who just started devouring books, finding people that knew more than me, finding people that I could associate with who had the fruit on the tree that I desired. And it just started this journey of personal development, self-development, skillful living. The most rewarding thing about what I do is truly inspiring people to take ownership for their lives. You know, so many times when we look out here in the world, there's so much going on, so many distractions. And I'm excited when people leave one of my seminars and workshops and they say, you know what, I recognize that if it's to be, it's up to me. I have to take ownership for my own life and the results of it. I'm really fortunate to be able to talk to a wide variety of audiences, you know, from children to high school students, even to adults and families, because everybody wants better results in their lives. But our results are the direct correlation to our behaviors, and our behaviors are based on our thinking. So you're never too young, you're never too old. It's not gender-based. Everybody needs to change the way they think so they can get better results in their lives. So I teach people, no matter what age, that if you start pursuing excellence in your life, imagine if you were just 1 point, 1 degree better version of yourself than you are today, how much more successful could you be? Excellence to success. When you pursue excellence, you will capture success.
Well, I want to introduce my friend, Ryan Ray. I've known Ryan for 4, maybe going on 5 years now. And just impressed all along the way. His speech, he spoke from Broke, Busted, and Disgusted. I've heard it several times, but to hear his journey and to where he's been and where he is now, CEO of a company based solely, basically, because he did excellent work in training materials, and they were so impressed, they literally reached out to him to say, would you consider this position with our company? But I'm not gonna take up any more of his time. He can tell you the story. So Ryan, are you there?
I'm here, Jimmy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome, man. Listen, first of all, appreciate the magnificent opportunity to come back and reconnect with my good friend, Jimmy Davies. Such a privilege to have gotten to know him over the years. And as you all here already know, just a man of integrity, a man of character, a man who loves people and has a passion to see other people win and succeed. And I think that's the thing that really united us from the beginning. And so, Jimmy, man, I remember the early conversations about Every.Black, man. So congratulations on the continued success and progress that you've made. I've certainly seen that commitment and that it's paying off. And to everyone who's come alongside him to support him, that's so important because, you know, when you have a vision that's bigger than yourself, it takes a team of people to pull that off. And so for all those who come alongside him and captured or caught the vision, I'll say it on his behalf, thank you, because this is a very important mission. It's important work, and I'm happy to be here to support it. And so I want to make sure I do as I'm told and just share my story really quickly, get out the way. And if there's any questions, happy to take those. And so just real quickly, I'm from the big metropolis. They call it Dunn, North Carolina. about 30 miles from Raleigh here. And I went to a, pretty small high school, pretty small elementary school in Dunn, out in the country. I learned work ethic really hard. My parents taught me that. By the time I was 13 years old, I was cutting grass in the summers, 40 hours a week, making the money to take care of me and my brother and buying our school clothes and things. And so that seed of work ethic was always planted. I went off to school after graduating to NC State, where I managed to cram 4 years into 5.5. And college was basically a $30,000 party. I didn't know what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, what was next for me. I just felt like college. I bought the ticket that college was the thing you do out of high school, and I went. And I graduated college finally, again, really with no idea what I wanted to do next. But I left college with $30,000 worth of student loan debt. And I had 11 credit cards maxed out to the tune of about another $10,000 in debt. So I left college with about $40,000 worth of debt. And that's what they sent me off and said, Ryan, go start your life. $40,000 in the hole. And that's what I did. And at the time, I was working for a company called 360, which became Alltel, which is now Verizon, in the mobile tech industry. And I went out into sales and marketing. The day I graduated, I asked my manager, I was working behind the scenes in credit and activations, and I asked my manager if there was any opportunity out in sales and marketing. So they found a spot for me in Durham. I went right out into sales and marketing, had some early success right away. Probably made 50, 60 grand. My first year out of college, felt like I had made it, Jimmy. But what I didn't know was that I was probably about to make a couple of the biggest mistakes of my life. And because I knew that all I had to do was show up and continue to put in the work, I would continue to get paid every week. And so if you guys do the math, that's about $1,000 a week. And so this is where Jimmy loves this part of the story. And so because I was making good money, but I did not understand money, which is why I'm a huge champion of financial literacy today, I went and got myself in even more debt. I went and bought a brand new truck to the tune of about $30,000 cash, not cash, paid sticker price for it, financed it at sticker price. Had a nice apartment off Six Forks Road. I was traveling and partying and just having a good time. So I thought, living what I thought my ideal was of what success was. It was about the things, it was about the lifestyle. It's ironic that, sharing this story right now, Jimmy, I think I've shared you this level of detail. And so it was the first time that Dunn, North Carolina ever held a Martin Luther King parade and breakfast. I told my manager at the time, I'm going home to celebrate with the big city of Dunn. This is a huge deal for us. And, we're going to go and I'm going to take MLK Day off. This was in 2000. And he came back and said, no, you're not. We need you to come to work. It's a holiday and we need the full staff. And I don't do well being told what I can't do. And so he said, well, you can either pack up your stuff or we'll see you on Monday. And so I packed up my stuff and I quit that $50,000, $60,000 job with about $70,000 worth of debt. And Jimmy, that's where I found myself, broke, busted, and disgusted. I was making the money, but I found myself every week broke. I had no idea that of what really financial literacy and financial principles were. And so it was in that time though, Jimmy, that the entrepreneurial spirit began to circulate. And I had a friend of mine actually a cousin who lived in New York and told me about this idea of peddling where you could come up and buy merchandise and bring it back here and sell it. And for about 6 months, every other weekend or so, I would jump in the back of a truck, drive a truck up to New York, load the back of it with clothes and bags and things. And I was hustling, Jimmy. And I would come back home and sell those items out the back of the car. And I was very, very frustrated. A friend of mine knew the general manager at Leith Honda here in Raleigh. And he said, look, you can come sell cars. You know, I think that'd be a good fit for you. It's sales, you've had some success. And so I went right into that. In the first year in sales, I did pretty well at the car lot. After doing that for about a year, the entrepreneurial bug hit me again, and me and another friend went out and started our own cell phone store in Durham. And our lack of experience, knowledge, and we blame it on location. But that was another fail. So if you're out there listening, I hope you're seeing a theme here. That success is simply managed failure. It's managed frustration. You just got to stay in the game and keep going through those things. And so that was another failure, to which I went back to the car dealership and started working again. But Jimmy, this time it wasn't the same. I found myself very frustrated, walking back and forth across that parking lot, waiting on someone to come up and hopefully buy a car. And that was going to determine, you know, what I got to do that week or that month. And I got very frustrated. And I'll never forget it. I called out to God. I said, look, there's got to be more to life than this. I'm very unfulfilled. I'm frustrated. You know, what's next for me? And it wasn't long after that, you guys heard in my intro, and Jimmy, I actually had forgot about that video, man. Thanks for the reminder. And it wasn't long after that a friend of mine, one of few people I call friend today, said, Ryan, I got a book that you need to read. And it was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. If you haven't read that, I advise that you do. And it was the first book I'd ever read. And I'm probably 26 years old at this time. And that book absolutely wrecked me. It changed my life. The frustration that I was feeling, anybody that's familiar with that book or the cash flow quadrant, you know, the frustration I was feeling was that I wanted the right side, or the 5% results, the individuals who had financial freedom, financial independence, financial security. I wanted those results, as do most people. But my behavior was congruent with the left side, which were the 95% who, nothing wrong with that. It's just a function of results. I wanted different results than I was getting in my life. And so the results that I wanted, my behaviors weren't congruent with that. And that's why I was frustrated. Why can't I experience success and time freedom and financial freedom? And it was because my behaviors didn't align with that. And shortly after that, after a long day of church, I made this decision. I was going to drive down to Tampa, Florida, and the competitiveness in me decided I was going to make that trip, drive all night and make that trip. And I ended up falling asleep, Jimmy, about 3-4 o'clock in the morning on I-4 between Orlando and Tampa, running about 80 miles an hour, the state patrolman said, and I ran up under the back of a tractor trailer. And just totally demolished the car, ripped the roof of it off, split it down the middle. And I woke up to the sirens of emergency personnel. And I would have walked away from that miraculously, but my right leg wouldn't go with me. It was broke. First time ever in my life I had a broke bone, and the first time in my life I spent the night in a hospital, Jimmy, was in Orlando, Florida. So quite an experience. So they airlifted me back to Orlando, put me back together. About a week later, I flew back home to Dunn, North Carolina, and there's a lot more to that story, but I'll stick to the script tonight. And shortly after that, through a series of events, my father knew a guy who was having some success in the insurance industry. And you know, when you've basically lost everything, you know, I'm back home in my home bedroom that I grew up in, next to my parents. I can hear their phone ring in their room next door, and my mom's putting my socks on my feet because I'm a mess from this accident. And you begin to hear pretty clearly in that situation. And God humbled me, got my attention. And so after that introduction was made to the insurance agency owner, I started going to his Friday morning classes. No interest in knowing insurance, but here's another tip. When you can align yourself with people who have the results in your life that you want, I highly encourage that you find a way to do that. That's why I love this setting of what Jimmy has created. That's why I love training. That's why I love teaching, because that's what changed my life. Sitting in that classroom every Friday morning, I don't know how long, totally changed my philosophy on life. You know, I grew up in church. I knew about hard work. I knew respect. I knew integrity. I knew morals. I knew all of that stuff. And yeah, I made a lot of mistakes. I wasn't a good boy all the time. But I didn't understand the laws that produce success. And I don't know what success is for you tonight. It's different for everybody, but the best definition I can come up with is it's the pursuit of some worthwhile goal. It's the pursuit of some worthy cause, right? If there's, it's the mother who's just decided I'm going to be a good mother, right? That's success to me. It's not the stuff. It's not the spiking of the football in the end zone. It's not that you've achieved this great crown. It's that you've made a decision that I'm going to pursue something worthy. And so at that point in my life, as I'm sitting in that classroom, I start to hear things for the very first time, like, Ryan, it's not what happens to you that determines your success. It's what you do with what happens to you. And I was like, wow. So I'm not a victim here. I simply can change the way I'm looking at what has happened to me, and that will change the direction of my life. He said, Ryan, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. You got to begin to prepare for where you're heading and where you want to go. And as you heard in the video, this is where I framed that work from Excellence to Success. He said, Ryan, success isn't something that you pursue. At that point, that was my thing. Like what can I achieve? How much money? What was the car? Where can I live? Where can I travel? That was what I thought you were supposed to pursue. And he said, no, Ryan, success isn't something that you pursue. He says, success is something that you attract by the person you become. Say it another way. Success isn't something that you pursue, that you chase after. Success is something that you attract by becoming an attractive person. Now, that doesn't mean your hair did, nails did, everything did. That's not what I'm saying there. What that means is, have you developed the skill sets that make you an attractive, a valuable person? Have you raised your value in the marketplace? Have you developed leadership skills? Have you developed problem-solving skills? Do you walk around with a positive or a negative attitude? Are you that person that people want to come to and rely on and hang out with? How do you make yourself more valuable? And when I began, and he said something else, he said, so Ryan, you need to work harder on yourself than you do on any job. He said, you need to work harder on yourself than you do on any business. And he said, when you begin to work on yourself, then you'll begin to see the results. Success will begin to come to you. You will begin to turn away opportunities, because the marketplace is looking for people with skills that can bring a value, that can do the things that the majority of society can't do. And when I embraced that, I became this personal development junkie. I went from this kid who had never read a book to reading everything. I went from this kid who, as a musician, listened to the radio, listening to audios. My car, I still got them today. You see me looking around and looking at my library, just reminiscing. I'm grateful that somebody introduced the book to me again. That's why this work is so important. The first time I met Jimmy was at a mastermind. He was talking about reading books. And I'm like, man, this is so unique, but so valuable. And so when I began to just change the way that I looked at life, I approached life, and focused on building my character, building my value. And then the big piece was that I took the focus off of myself and began to focus on other people. How can I serve other people? How can I add value to other people's lives? And then I began to go out in the community and look for those opportunities. And then the doors just begin to open up, and we begin to start to see things happen. And after having a few years of success in Dunn, I got really committed to wanting to pay that forward. And that's when in 2015, as you see here, we started Triangle Entrepreneurial Leadership for the sole purpose of educating, empowering, and equipping entrepreneurs with the thinking and the skill sets. Guys, it takes both. Like, you can know how to do something, but if you're doing it wrong, you're going to get different results. Or you can have the mindset, but if you don't have the skill sets, then it doesn't translate into the marketplace. And so you got to have that mindset and the skill sets and to pursue that financial, personal, and professional success. And I believe it's a holistic approach. If you're winning in finances, you ought to be winning in all other areas of your life. It's not just, you're a great dad and a horrible over here. Like it should be congruent. And so we started the triangle with that in mind. We'll be celebrating our 5th year this year in November. We're not sure what that'll look like, Jimmy, with everything that's going on, if it'll be in person or virtual, but we're excited about that. And as Jimmy mentioned, that work in the community, somebody was paying attention. You know, here's another nugget. At a mastermind event, met a young lady who was working for Jobs for Life and had no idea that she was watching and paying attention. And I got a phone call back in April of 2018. And she said, look, I've been watching you and following you and your family. We've been without leadership for a couple of years now. We've put a hiring committee together. We can't find anybody that we feel like can fit this role. Would you be interested in pursuing this role, this opportunity at Jobs for Life? And after going back and praying about it and really thinking about it, I felt like that it aligned with what God had already called me to do. It really gave me a bigger platform to do what I was already doing. So I'm grateful to have that opportunity. And so, you know, at the end of the day, Jimmy, just it's been a lot of blessings, luck, and favor to have arrived at this point from broke, busted, and disgusted to CEO. And so I'll pause there, man, and just open it up for any thoughts or questions.
Well, sure. No, I think it's an amazing story. And actually, you know, after you accepted being our speaker tonight and I started thinking about it, because you worked on your personal development, you end up being CEO of a company, a corporation, literally.
Yeah.
Because of, you know, so I mean, that's amazing. And that's a testament to your work. Maybe I know you a little too well because there's a few things you left out about the guy had a library of books and you wanted a library like his.
Yeah.
And a comment that he asked you who was helping you with your finances.
Yeah. Let me go back to that. So let me address your first point. Thank you. I was looking at your face as I was talking. I was like, he's disappointed. I must have missed something.
Oh no,
I'm joking.
Great.
I'm joking. But let me go back and make one point. So yeah, Jimmy, you know, the pursuit of entrepreneurship was so that I maintain that freedom and autonomy, right? And I have a ton of freedom with leading this organization. But the mindset was, let me develop my skills so I don't have to do the corporate thing, right? And I say that to say that wherever you are, guys, because remember I said earlier, it's not a right or wrong, it's a results, it's whatever you want. So if you want to, you know, excel in corporate and professionally, then the formula is the same. Develop the skill sets. If you want to succeed entrepreneurially, the formula is the same. Develop the skill sets. You know, what we teach at Jobs for Life is that if you work on yourself and develop those skill sets, now you can choose the path, right? Because the skill sets and the thinking will get you the same results. You get to choose the path. But if you limit yourself in skill sets and ability, then you don't get to walk down any of those paths. But going back, yeah, Jimmy, you're right. So during the course of going to these Friday morning classes and just learning, man, just taking it all in. And one day he called me into his office. His name was Mike. I really need to call him. I've been saying this for years. I don't even know that if he knows the mentor role that he played in my life. And he called me into his office one day and he said, Ryan, man, look, you know, how are you doing financially? I said, man, I'm not so well. And he knew this. I said, not so well at all. He said, well, who are you getting your financial advice from? And with all the manhood and ego I could muster up, I said, myself. To which he said, you've got to stop listening to that idiot. He said, Ryan, you are who you are, where you are, and what you are in life because of your thinking, because of your programming. He said, you know, you want to succeed to this level and achieve all these things, but your thinking, your mindset won't get you there. Your thinking isn't congruent. Your behaviors aren't congruent with the results that you want. It's the law of the lid that John Maxwell talks about. You can't grow beyond what you know, right? And so I was limited. What you know, talking to somebody, what you know has gotten you exactly where you are right now. And if you want to go beyond that, you've got to increase either your associations or the information that you're plugging in, right? You know, one of my favorite speakers, Charlie Tremendous Jones, says this, that 5 years from now, you are the same except for the books you read and the people with whom you associate with. Look back 5 years ago. If you haven't changed your relationships or your information, you're probably the same, right? And so if you want to be different 5 years from now, those are the things you've got to incorporate. And so while I was in his office, there was books like all around the office, like in every room. And he said, Ryan, leaders are readers. He said, if you want to be successful, you got to read. You got to begin to put that information into your mind. He said, I know you work hard and all of that, but you're hustling backwards. You're trying to outwork. He said, and you don't want to work harder, you want to work smarter. And as you develop those skill sets, you'll begin to see that you don't have to work quite as hard. I never want to tell anybody you don't have to work hard, because you do, depending on what you're trying to achieve. And so when I looked around his office, and I was like, man, this guy's got a lot of books. And so I started buying everything he recommended. I didn't read them all right away, but I did start purchasing them. And to the day, I have a pretty extensive library that I'll one day get to pass on to my beautiful sons, along with these principles and ideas. So it's been a beautiful journey so far.
Well, thank you. I just want to open it up too. I don't know if anyone else has any questions for Ryan this evening.
I have a question for you, Ryan. How you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
This is DJ Jones. I'm out in Clayton, North Carolina.
How you doing, buddy? Good to have you on.
Yes, sir. I'm with the Boys and Girls Clubs as a CEO. Been with the clubs for about 20 years, different variety of opportunities. Yep. Been in this movement for so long, you've almost seen everything that you can see within this type of organization. What are some advice you give someone like me for the next step? As far as pursuing what's the next step, in my own growth and development. Not saying that I know everything, nobody knows everything, but trying to figure out and really identify what those weaknesses are, and to overcome those to be able to pursue something even greater than what you may have already accomplished.
Man, that's a great question, DJ. And it takes someone that has tremendous hunger to ask that question. And one of the things that I did, and I would never advise someone of something I haven't done myself, is that I've began to really engage coaches in multiple areas of my life. So I have a image consultant. I have a executive leadership coach. I have an effectiveness coach who teaches me the principles around Peter Drucker, the world's foremost business manager. He wrote a book called Managing Oneself, DJ. If you haven't read this book, man, I highly recommend it. Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. Another one is The 4 Disciplines of Execution. And what it is, it's just going into the treasure chest of principles, because so many times we tend to live our lives around trends and ideas. And there's another quote, full of them, that says methods, I would forget it now. Methods are many, principles are few. Methods often change, principles never do. And so I try to really encourage people to go find those principles, those things that will never change, and get even more grounded and rooted in those principles of leadership, of innovation, creativity. We're in a unique time right now. I basically scratched all of my playbooks between my personal branding, Triangle Entrepreneurial Leadership, Jobs for Life. I'm just scratching them, because the way we did business 3 months ago, we probably won't do business like that 3 months from now. Our customer 3 months ago probably won't be our same customer 3 months from now, depending on the business and the industry you're in. So long answer, DJ, but one thing, man, is a coach, just someone who can help you to see those blind spots and really challenge you in some areas. And another thing a coach is going to do is really point you in the direction of assessments. I avoided assessments for years because I didn't want to be boxed in by what an assessment said I could and couldn't do. But what an assessment has done is taught me really what my gifts and talents and skills are. And I've been able to double down in those areas, which have been able to produce even more results. So hope that helps, my friend.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. We got room for one more question. Michelle Hill.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Michelle.
You mentioned, and you answered some of it with the last answer, but you mentioned Rich Dad, Poor Dad as being a book that was instrumental in your change. Can you recommend 2 or 3 other books that really changed your life
and change the trajectory of your life?
Sure. Is there a domain particular or just any book?
A personal development type of books.
Well, I mean, the classics, you know, Rich Dad, Think and Grow Rich, Mr. Joe Dudley, a mentor, Mr. Jimmy and I have had the pleasure of participating with. How many times has he read that now, Jimmy?
He said 300.
300 times. I mean, so yeah. we probably all can stand to read that a couple more times. I'll tell you what, I mean, Mr. Fuller's book is superb. I mean, it really, really is. But just some other classics, man. How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People. Another one is drawing a blank here. One I'm reading now, I just went back to an old one. If you're in sales, Og Mandino has some great stuff, The Greatest Salesman in the World. I mean, I like the books that were written before we had all these results and statistics, right? Like a lot of books today are being written, but the proof's already in the pudding. It's stuff we knew. It's just different ideas set different ways. I like the stuff where the pages have turned colors, because those are principles. They give you the laws that govern success. Those are the things that I really, really like to read. And then some of the other stuff too, Michelle, but happy to share some more of those books with you.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you all. What we're going to do now, we really appreciate it, Ryan.
My pleasure.
What we're going to do now is we've got a short video, and then we're going to have some breakout sessions so you all can network with one another. So I'm going to share my screen again, and really appreciate it, Ryan.
Yeah, Jimmy, thank you for the opportunity, man. Keep up the great work. And Kim, pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.